Okay.
So I guess we could introduce ourselves. My name is Carol Feaster, and I'm the coordinator for international recruitment and admissions at Upper Iowa University. I'm also serving as the interim education abroad person as well at the moment.
Great, great. Everyone, my name is Darcy Dornan. I'm the International Recruitment Manager at Loyalist College in Canada. And again, great to be here. Thank you to Worldwide College Tours for setting up this virtual fair and opportunity to present this to you today. We're going to be talking, Carol and I, about financing scholarships and job opportunities on and off campus while you're a student, but also after graduation.
So basically, over this next hour, if it does indeed take that long, we will talk about education in the US and in Canada, traveling abroad, how you can fund that. There are many different ways, scholarships, grants, and those two are examples of money that you do not have to pay back. It's like free money. There are also some loans available. I know that some countries, their government helps fund students to come abroad to study. International students do not qualify for US government funding, but you might have a tuition waiver. We'll go over different employment opportunities, some examples of work, and how you have to provide financial information in order to have your I-20 issued.
Yes, and just a quick note back up on the scholarships and grants. We'll talk more about it in the slides to come. But Carol is mentioning, of course, scholarship and grant opportunities that are available at the institutions in the US and or Canada, and or perhaps by state or province or federal scholarship and grant opportunities. But I'll just highlight here quickly as well that that students can come with their own scholarship and grant opportunities from their home countries as well. And we've highlighted some of those kinds of opportunities in the slides to come as well. And as you can see, of course, we'll be sure to leave some time for your questions at the end.
So just to go over kind of some definitions of the different types of funding. Scholarships, I can give you an example here at Upper Iowa. We have international student scholarships that are merit-based, and we also have athletic scholarships. Merit-based would be the amount of funding that we would give to you is dependent upon your grade point average, how well you have done in school. The better you do in school, the more money we are willing to offer you. Need-based would be based on your financial status. I guess there are like country and regional specific scholarships, government funded, privately funded. That would be like a private loan from your local bank or something. And then there are some other scholarships based on diversity, and then also departmental scholarships. You want to talk about?
Sure, yeah, I can go into the grants here. So different kinds of grants available, again, in either the US or Canada. Some, of course, are specific to either one of the countries. But here we have some examples. The Fulbright Grant, which many of you might have heard of before. The AAUW International Fellowship. And of course, as I was alluding to earlier, institutionally funded grants. Those are grants that will be different depending on where you're studying. And of course, different kinds of emergency grants. And maybe one example of an emergency grant, at least from our side at Loyalist College in Canada, is that we've made a lot of different types of emergency grants available to international students in need because of this COVID pandemic. And so that's one of a kind of emergency grant that, that may or may not be available depending the situation. And let us hope that we are leaving the COVID pandemic, moving forward to a brighter and more positive 2021.
That's for sure. And then, like I was saying, you can get a loan through your bank. Generally, we encourage students to go to their local bank in their home country, because sometimes it's harder once you get to the US because you have to have credit, and many international students don't have any credit, no credit card or previous loans or that type of thing. But like Darcy was saying, you can also check with your own home country's government, because a lot of times they may offer you a loan or they may offer you a scholarship of some type to fund your education.
Exactly. Okay. And here are some other ideas about how to search for funding opportunities. There are a number of different organizations that can help you in these kinds of ways. Again, some that may be specific to Canada or the US or even your country. So here we're giving some options of places to check, and we encourage you certainly to look at these different options and available funding opportunities, but realize again that you want to be looking actively in your own country as well for different kinds of opportunities. So here I won't go into each and every one of them, but just highlight a few. Education USA, Carol, you might be able to talk better about that one.
Sure. Education USA, I believe, has different scholarship opportunities. I'm thinking that, like, on their website, you could search that out, fill out the application. Honestly, I'm not real well versed on what the qualifications are, but I'm sure that their website would be able to tell you.
Yeah, and like Carol is saying, so many of these scholarship opportunities or funding opportunities can be very specific, and so like she's saying about Education USA, educanada.ca is very similar in that regard. When you go to that website, you'll see a link for either English or French. Choose your language, continue to search the site for scholarships after that. And again, there are a whole host of different international student scholarships available. But it's very important to check clearly and pay attention, pay close attention to each different type of scholarship, because you may or may not qualify. And on the EduCanada site, for example, there are scholarships that are only available to students from Latin American countries, for example, or scholarships that are only available for a number of other different countries around the world. But check those websites out, because they're a wealth of information and contain lots of different types of funding opportunities that you'll definitely want to check out. One more before I'm done with this slide, Carol, if you want to jump in on any of these others. But I just like to highlight the Lions or Rotary scholarships. These are available in countries around the world. If you look at the Rotary Club of the city in which you live, many big cities even have many different Rotary or Lions clubs. And if you go to those particular websites, you'll be able to find education scholarship information as well that is highly, highly worth applying to, because a lot of these kinds of websites don't get so many student applications because a lot of students don't necessarily know to look for them. So I would definitely recommend looking at those kinds of opportunities, aside from perhaps opportunities on the Ministry of Education or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs websites in your respective countries also.
There's even, sometimes there are scholarships available, like if you are a first generation student. So for example, your parents or your grandparents never attended college. A lot of universities will offer scholarships for somebody in that situation. Um, and, oh, and departmental scholarships. That would be, say you're going to school to study in the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. There are specific scholarships oftentimes available for going into a specific field.
Yes, good point. Good point. STEM, of course, are very popular areas for scholarship opportunities. But again, you know, if you're not interested in STEM or don't plan to be studying STEM, we're using STEM as one example. But you want to check out, as Carol is highlighting, the opportunities at the institution to which you're applying, and then specifically within the department to which you're applying as well.
Okay, we have one question here, and it says, what kind of merit is required for scholarships? I was not able to take the SAT, and most colleges only give scholarships based on SAT marks. Well, speaking for Upper Iowa University, for our international students, we do not require an SAT score. We base your scholarship and acceptance on your GPA from high school, or if you're a transfer student, your college grades and that type of thing. How about you, Darcy?
We do exactly the same. That's a good point, Carol. Loyalist College does exactly the same for the merit-based. And important to note that for right now, at this particular moment, our merit-based scholarships are available to you as you start studying at Loyalist College. So they're not an international incoming type of scholarship, but you have to start studying at Loyalist College to be eligible to apply for the merit-based scholarships. On the other hand, the athletic scholarships, you could apply from your home country, and that could be used to lower your tuition fees should you be selected to play on any particular varsity sport. We are looking towards offering some international incoming scholarships for September of 2021. And so keep an eye definitely on our website at Loyalist College for that news to be announced probably later in 2021.
Yes.
Anything else from this side, Carol?
I don't think so. You can just
No?
follow that link and it will outline all of the different opportunities for scholarships.
Okay.
Okay, so the all-important question of how to obtain your I-20. This is where I was saying that you will need to provide a financial statement that shows your ability to pay for 1 year's worth of college or university. And let me get my thoughts together here. It will list out exactly the breakdown of the fees, the tuition, living expenses, that sort of thing. And then we will subtract whatever scholarships that you might have received. And then the bottom line is what you have to be able to show on your financial statement from your sponsor, or if you're paying for yourself on your own personal financial statements.
And Carol, what is the I-20?
Oh, it is an immigration form basically that you have to have before you can make an appointment at the embassy and get your visa. And most countries, except for like Canada and well, I think Mexico does too. You have to have a visa in order to enter the US. So.
Okay, so international students coming to the US have to apply for the I-20 in order to go and study.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have to get that from, the I-20 must be issued by the college that they are going to be attending. And then once they get that in their acceptance letter, they make their appointment at the embassy and get their visa.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, great. Anything else here?
At Upper Iowa, we require all of our international students to have the health insurance that we furnish. As far as room and board, we require all of freshmen through junior year to live on campus. And then I guess the other item where it says living expenses, that is really just an estimate, and it just all depends on the spending habits of each individual student. So we just kind of do an estimate there.
Sure, sure.
I guess that's all I have to say on this slide.
Okay, great. This is the financials for Loyalist College in Canada. So again, same kind of idea as what we were just looking at, as well with Carol for the US. Our tuition is here, right in the middle. And again, just to highlight, we're talking about Canadian dollars in this sense, not US dollars. So we're at a little over 14,000 for your tuition cost per year. Ancillary fees are actually student fees. This is what you pay as a student to access the health center, the international and immigration center, other student services like advising and counseling. And this also covers your fees and gives you access to our gym and sports facilities on campus. And like Carol was saying, in Canada, we also require you to have an international health insurance that we provide with a third-party provider, and that is an additional $600 per year. So you come to a subtotal for your academic costs and student expenses of approximately 16,500 Canadian dollars per year. And then we also give an estimate for cost of living at being about $1,000 per month or 12,000 per year. So you would end up with a total budget of about 27 to 28,000 per year to study at Loyalist College in Canada. I also just put up some of those same links towards scholarships and the athletic scholarships. And I'll just highlight again here quickly as well, since we have these numbers available. We're going to talk about this in the next slides, but working in Canada as an international student would allow you, even at a student job on campus, or let's say an entry-level job at a Starbucks, for example, to earn between $19,000 and $20,000 per year. I made those calculations using the $14 minimum salary that is available in Ontario, and then multiplying that by the number of hours you're allowed to work as an international student. And so I just say that in order to perhaps give you and or your parents a better understanding of how much you could actually make working in Canada. And as Carol is mentioning, of course, it's important first to be able to prove to either US immigration or Canada immigration that you have the funding necessary to cover your expenses before being able to get the study visa or the student visa. But I did these calculations because I know that parents get a great deal of relief in knowing that even if their students are working part-time, that they will be able to make some money in order to cover some expenses while they're studying abroad.
That's interesting because in the US, international students are not able to work off campus.
Yes,
So
I noticed
that's a big
that.
difference.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And so this is the slide where you're talking about that, right?
Sure. The only time that you would be allowed to work off campus is after you have attended one school year. Then you can go into either curricular practical training, which it would be a position off campus in a job that is related to your field of study, or OPT, which is optional practical training. And typically that's for working after graduation. And there is a $410 filing fee for that, which is, it has just recently gone up. It's terrible, but. And then lastly, there's a severe economic hardship, which is similar to OPT, but it is rather difficult to get this classification. The student would need to demonstrate reasons why, like, has there been a loss of sponsorship? Was there a natural disaster? Which, I mean, in the era of the pandemic that we're in right now, that very well could be a reason for somebody to file for severe economic hardship. So.
Sure. Yeah, this has been quite an exceptional year. And again, lots of good news coming out of places like the UK and elsewhere, Canada and the US included. And we really look forward to getting those vaccines out and distributed, not only in our respective countries, but out to the rest of the world as well. Because we know and appreciate just how exciting and interesting and valuable it is to have these kinds of study abroad opportunities, whether they're in Canada or the US or elsewhere. They're life-changing experiences. And so, again, we're very excited for these vaccine developments, and we really look forward to welcoming you to our respective institutions and or wherever you may be studying in Canada and or the US. And so, as Carol was pointing out, student employment in Canada is quite different from the US. As an international student, as I was mentioning already, you are authorized to work either on campus or off campus. And you do have some restrictions to that, as you can see here on this slide. During the academic year, when you have classes, you're permitted to work a maximum of 20 hours per week. And during the holiday breaks, when you don't have classes, is when you're allowed to work full-time. And so that's where I made those different calculations, taking the 20 hours per week for the 7 to 8 months of time when you will be having classes, and then the remainder of the year when you could be working full-time. That's how I made that earlier calculation. And then in Canada, after you graduate, actually, but as you're finishing your last semester of your last year of study, you also have this possibility to apply for what we call the post-graduation work permit. We often refer to it as the Pgwp. And this would allow you as an international student to stay and work in Canada for anywhere between 1 to 3 years. And how do you know the length of time? It really is linked to how long you study. So if you study for 1 year, you could apply for the Pgwp for 1 and or perhaps 2 years. If you study for 2 or more years, then you will be eligible to get the Pgwp for up to 3 years. So those are nice opportunities. And then just a quick slide to kind of highlight the ways in which we can help you to work. And Carol, I'm sure that you and your university do this kind of thing as well. And, in colleges and universities across both our countries have what we call career centers. And so you can see here's an example specifically of the one for Loyalist College. And, we organize, as I'm sure, Carol, you do as well, different kinds of job fairs on campus, perhaps off campus as well. And or, of course, during, this particular pandemic year, we've been doing a lot online, with an online job board, other kinds of online services, and, another different kind of online network with which we've recently joined called magnet.today. And so these are different kinds of online efforts that, you know, that we are implementing in order to help you to find jobs. And, you know, we're interested in helping you succeed academically, but we also know that many students are coming to study with us and in Canada to, you know, to work and to make money as well. And so we want to make sure that we give you all the tools in order to succeed in finding a job, how to get a job, how to do an interview, etc. And you can see that even the city of Belleville, in which Loyalist College is located, is also there to help you with a resume database. And we work very closely with the city government as well in the organization of different types of job fairs as well. Anything you wanted to mention about your
Sure.
efforts on that side? Yes.
Yes, we do have a career center, and you can go there anytime, and they will help you write your resume. They will help put you in touch with different areas on campus that are hiring, or if you have your OPT or have applied for OPT, they can help you look for a job off campus. We're in quite a rural community, so many of our international students, once they graduate, if they get their OPT, they generally move away and go to a larger town, or in many cases, even a different state. So, Darcy, we have a question here, and it says, are graduate students allowed to work off the campus during their first academic year? In my case, that would be no. How about in Canada?
In Canada, whether you're an undergraduate or a postgraduate or graduate student, you are authorized to work on campus and or again off campus. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Carol, how about this on-campus employment?
Yes, so basically we are, in the US, it's the same as in Canada, 20 hours per week when school is in session, 40 hours, which is full-time during breaks, winter break, spring break, and even over the summer. And right now, I think our student workers make 10 US dollars per hour. And you can see the examples of work that are available. You could be a resident hall assistant, work in dining services, work in the library. We have a lot of students that, especially in the summertime, they like to work with our maintenance and facilities department. You mow grass, plant flowers and such. If you like being outside, that a lot of students enjoy that. In the winter, they don't as much when it snows, but.
You got snow where you are too then, huh?
We're in for a storm. It's supposed to hit tonight and go through tomorrow, so.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, but we are in December already, right?
Right. Need a little snow for the Christmas time, right?
Exactly.
So
yeah, I would say that's sorry, Carol, to interrupt, but that's very similar with students on our campus as well. Lots of good opportunities to work during the summer months as well. Not only on campus doing maintenance and landscaping as well, but also in the student residences. And the summer months are when campuses are doing a lot of renovations as well. And so there are lots of good student job opportunities like that with us as well.
Sure. Then I don't know about Canada, but here in the US, there are two different types of funding for student workers. There's federally funded, which means the college gets money from the government in order to pay for the student workers. And then there's actually university funded. And so all of our international students would fall under the university funded, because it's just like getting financial aid in the US. If you're not a US citizen, you don't qualify for that. So
yeah, that's the same in Canada.
Okay. Also, our International Student Scholar Services person, once or twice a month, she will take students to the Social Security Administration to get a Social Security card. In order to work on campus, you do have to have a Social Security number because you do have to file taxes in the US.
Likewise.
Okay.
Okay,
all
we're
I
done
have.
here.
How many hours a day can students work on the campus in both the US and Canada? Well, it's not actually per day, it's per week, I suppose, is how we
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah, it's really calculated per week. But you know, if you think about the fact that that you need to be a full-time student in order to be in country, then that already is going to limit the amount of hours that you can work per day. But again, you know, with different kinds of student jobs on campus or off campus in Canada, you know, this is something that employers take into consideration. And so you wouldn't necessarily be working 8-hour shifts, but you may be working, you know, 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour shifts, depending. And then of course you have the opportunity to work longer shifts if needed, or if you're interested at the weekend. All right, and the
You can
next
take
slide,
this away.
important reminders.
You take this one away, Darcy.
Okay, well, let's see here. You know, just, you know, some different things that we wanted to help you to remember in regards to, you know, rules and regulations. But knowing that your international centers, international offices, you know, are here to help you, to explain the way that everything works. And you'll get that kind of assistance throughout the year, but of course you'll get it in the kinds of international orientations that we provide as well at the beginning of the start of your studies. And so, you know, it's at those moments where we really encourage you to participate in your international student orientation, because it's at those moments that so many of your questions will be answered in regards to, you know, different questions you may have related to studies or work or health insurance, etc. And so make sure that you look for those orientations and actively participate in them, because you'd be surprised at how many of our international students don't. And so again, you know, instead of fumbling your way through your first international education study abroad experience, you know, do like you're doing now. You're participating in this event, and make sure that you keep actively participating in what we're sending you as you're, you know, moving from the application to the student, you know, process, and then, you know, getting the updates and information that is designed just to help you to succeed in your studies abroad. Is there anything more that you wanted to say about this, Carol? I think you talked about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay. Do not rely on credit cards. That's
That's
certainly probably good advice that you should be following even in your home countries, right? You know, and again, you know, the opportunities that we're highlighting, whether they're, you know, scholarships, grants, loans, if need be, or those opportunities to work are, you know, really what you want to be focusing on. And remember to never give up, right? You know, getting a scholarship or getting a grant is like getting a job. Just because you apply for it doesn't mean that you're going to get it, because these are all competitive in their own different ways. But, you know, don't be disheartened if you don't get that first job, or if you don't get that first scholarship to which you apply. It's a process, and you want to keep applying and keep searching and keep applying and keep searching, because all you need is one nice scholarship or one good job to set you on that right path moving forward. Huh? And then I guess this is important to highlight as well. Carol, would you like to?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, you do need to stay in school. You cannot just, if you get tired of studying, take a semester off. if you did that, you'd have to return to your home country. So you must be enrolled full-time, which at Upper Iowa, that would mean we're a little bit different. We have 5 8-week terms and 1 6-week term. So full-time would be between 16 weeks, you have to be enrolled in at least 3 courses. So, but yes, that is important. You don't want to, if you were to take a semester off, you'd be what they call out of status, which is not a good thing.
Exactly, exactly. And again, it's kind of the basic underlying principle for international students is that you are in country and as a student full-time in order to meet those basic requirements to be able to do everything and anything else that you do want to do up, up after that.
Okay, here's another question.
Okay.
Are international students able to get internships from the college once they are finished with their programs? So here at Upper Iowa, our career center, they would help you find an internship if that's what you want to do. And again, it would have to be in your area of study, but of course, that's where you would want it to be anyway.
Exactly, yeah. We have, let's see, in the majority of our programs, we have what are called work placement opportunities, often known as co-ops. And those are kind of like, it's similar to an internship experience. And of course, the program in which you're studying will help you to identify those opportunities. Again, it's still up to you as a student, a student who's in that program to apply for, interview, and successfully obtain that opportunity. But within the program, you'll get all kinds of help with our different partners, whether they're in the private or public sectors or NGOs, depending the kind of program in which you're studying. And then, like Carol is saying, of course, the Career Center is that other resource on which you can always rely for other kinds of job opportunities that may or may not be linked with your specific area of study. But Carol's point is well taken. You may as well take advantage of the opportunity that you're studying a specific subject in whichever country you're in to try and get experiences, work experience or internship experiences in the field in which you're studying, because that will help you for those next steps, right? It will help you to understand and be more confident in that you've made the right choice in what you're doing and what you're studying. And then on top of that, you'll already be putting into practice a lot of what you'll be learning in class. And, and that combined on your CV and your resume will help you to land those next jobs upon graduation. And it just makes, logical sense to, to do it that way. Of course, it doesn't always happen, and you may end up working in a restaurant or in a big store. You do what you have to do as well, but certainly it's recommended to try and focus in on your area of study, because there are also, of course, entry-level jobs in any and all industries.
Very true. So,
any
other questions for us?
This is your time. Don't be shy. You've asked some.
There's one. Can international students be part of sports activity? Absolutely. We have athletic scholarships here. Some of our most popular sports are American football. We have soccer. We have baseball, basketball, wrestling. Kind of new sport is bowling. We have a bowling team, and then we also have esports now.
No, great. And you can get scholarships also for esports.
Yes.
Good to know. You're gonna have a wave of student applications just for that, right?
How about Loyolist College? Do you have sport teams?
Yeah, we do. So, you know, like Carol is saying, as far as scholarships are concerned, we have, you know, a number of different varsity sports in which you could participate. You know, some the same, some different. We do have soccer. We don't do American football, but we do rugby. There's volleyball, cross country running, which is one of our sports as well. And then we have a whole host of other sports that are not varsity sports and for which you wouldn't be able to get any kind of athletic scholarships, but you know, different kinds of sports that you may be interested in playing as an international student, whether it's, you know, whether it's tennis or cricket or swimming or ice hockey or, you know, any number of other kinds of activities. And those are things that can be arranged either through different student clubs or that, you know, that you can arrange certainly amongst yourselves within the student residence or just amongst yourself as students as well.
Okay, and so then there was a question from a prospective student from India, and they want to know if it is possible to apply for online college and attend from my home country. And so at Upper Iowa, we do have a very strong online presence. So yes, you may do that at our university. How about Loyalist?
Loyalist College, normally for international students, of course, we're here representing, or I'm here representing our on-campus courses. That said, in this particular pandemic year, many of our programs went online. So there are quite a number of our different academic programs where students, international students, are studying from their home countries. It's not true for each and every program. Programs that have, different lab necessities do require the students to have come to Canada in order to meet those lab requirements. And since this particular student is from India, we actually set up in India with a partner our biotechnology program to offer the lab component in India. And so that was one way that we could still, help our international students from India meet those lab requirements and start the program as they were hoping to start back in September of this year.
Okay, this student asks, are there scholarships for PhD students in science education course? We do not offer a PhD. The highest we go is master's degree. So
yes, and that's the same for us. We have postgraduate studies, but I would, for PhDs in Canada, and perhaps Carol, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but the Edu Canada site and probably the Education USA website are areas, again, or websites where you can find information about scholarships for undergraduate and for graduate studies, whether it's PhD, master's, or other. So again, definitely check out those websites for that kind of information.
okay, and then this person would like to know if scholarships cover part of the tuition, and is it uncommon to get fully paid scholarships? In the US, I think generally speaking, the only students that get what we call a full ride would be maybe a star football player or something like that. But generally, it is not fully covered here.
And that's the same in Canada as well. Certainly for our institution at the college level, you're looking at scholarships that will give you a maximum of $3,000, whether that's the merit-based scholarship or the athletic scholarship. So it covers a portion of your tuition fees, and you could, of course, apply and obtain an athletic scholarship and a merit-based scholarship, but it still wouldn't cover all of your tuition fees. And so that's really just the reality of, of studying. It sounds like at both of our institutions. Perhaps at institutions where you can do PhDs, it's more common to be able to get more merit-based scholarships to cover, your research and your studies. But again, for undergraduate studies, it's quite uncommon. And I think that's fair to say for both of our institutions and countries. And Carol?
I would say so, yes. This question is for you, Darcy. Does Loyalist have cricket as a sport?
We do have cricket as a sport, but it's not a varsity sport, just to be clear. So we do have a student cricket club. So students from from anywhere and everywhere, not just South Asia, but anywhere in the world that are interested in playing cricket can at Loyalist College. They have that kind of opportunity. But again, it's not a varsity sport for which you could apply and obtain scholarship money.
Okay, and one more here. For scholarship applications, since they use GPA to weight grades, what happens if my school does not use the GPA? Well, I can tell you here, what we do is we convert the international grades into the equivalent of a US grade. We have different scales, different formulas to use depending on what country you're from.
And we certainly do the same. For our merit-based scholarship that's currently available here on this slide, you have to be a student at Loyalist College. And so although your previous records will be taken into consideration, what we're really looking at in this particular scholarship is also how you're doing at Loyalist College, how and what you're doing. Because although it is merit-based, where we ask you to fill out an application and write a letter to explain to us a little bit more who you are and what you're doing, not only academically, but what you may be doing for for work, or if you're involved in any other kinds of activities, be they student clubs or other community activities. We want to know about that to see what kind of positive impact you're having on campus and in the community.
It also, all that looks good on a resume too.
Exactly.
Let's see. What is the minimum cumulative grade point average required to attain a scholarship? And I can only speak for Upper Iowa. Our very minimum is a 2.0, and that's where it starts.
That's safe to say that it would be similar for us as well. It's always very dependent from scholarship to scholarship as to the kinds of applications that we're getting in as well. So no other minimum standards except for the fact that you have to be in good standing as a student.
Let's see. Is the information provided restricted to the schools that we represent, or can the information be generalized to the US and Canadian schools? For the US schools, I would say we are a private university. So if you're going to a bigger public state university, there are probably quite a few differences. And I can't speak to them. I don't know how they offer scholarships. I'm sure they do offer scholarships, but I'm not sure what they're based on. So that I'm not real clear on how I can answer that. But how about you, Darcy?
Yeah, I mean, certainly as far as Canadian colleges are concerned, everything that we've been saying today is quite generally applicable. Not all colleges across Canada have athletic scholarships available, so that might be one difference. You might not see that in each and every college institution across the country. But otherwise, what we're saying in terms of scholarship and grant opportunities, etc., will cover a broad category of institutions, because again, we're trying to talk about these kinds of opportunities for you, with a bigger perspective, but then also help you to focus in on what the differences at different institutions could look like. And so we're giving you two examples here, one from the US, one from Canada, but to a great extent, each and every institution is going to be with several kinds of similar type opportunities. They might be named differently. In one department, you might have a scholarship that's not available in the same department at another institution. But those are all differences and similarities that you'll have to discover on your own as you continue doing your research and asking questions.
Okay, it looks like we have one last one here, and it says, does your college offer a master's program in computer science? Upper Iowa does not, but I know that there are some US schools that do.
We have some different postgraduate program opportunities in IT, from cybersecurity to data science and cloud computing, as the kind of the three big ones. And so those are opportunities you could certainly look for with us. We actually have two campuses at Loyalist College. So cybersecurity would be available at the main campus in Belleville, where I'm based and where most of the scholarship opportunities, especially on the athletic side, are available as well. But for IT postgraduate programs, in our Toronto campus, you'll also find the other programs that I mentioned available there as well.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions. We can hang out here for a few more minutes. There's still 25 people in here, so.
Okay, well, again, everyone, really thank you very much for participating with us today and for all these very good questions.
Yes.
If something comes to mind after we've stopped the session, certainly feel free to reach out to us individually here on the FAIR platform, or remember to search around at the other institutions. But you have the kinds of questions and understanding of the opportunities now to be able to ask the appropriate questions to us or any of our colleagues that are here participating in the fair. And we certainly want to wish you the best of luck in your continued searches. And we look forward again to welcoming you to Canada and the US in 2021.
Yes. Thanks everybody for joining.
Yes. And I guess if there are no more questions, then we may as well let everybody go, including us, huh?
Sounds good, Darcy.
Okay.
Hey,
Carol,
great seeing
pleasure.
you. Great seeing you again.
Likewise, likewise.
Take care.
See you again soon. And again, bye-bye, everyone. All the best
Bye.
of luck.